You won't believe this, but there was a time when animals stood trial, just like humans. In medieval Europe, from the 13th to the 18th century, pigs, rats, and even insects were dragged into court, accused of crimes like theft, destruction, and even murder. These trials weren't just for show. Animals had real lawyers, judges, and even witnesses testifying for or against them. One of the earliest recorded cases happened in 1266, when a pig in France was executed for killing a child. As strange as it sounds, people back then truly believed animals could be held responsible for their actions. Pigs were the most frequent offenders in these bizarre trials. Since they roamed freely in medieval towns, it wasn't uncommon for them to attack small children. But instead of treating these cases as accidents, the court saw them as crimes. Some pigs were even dressed in human clothes before being publicly executed, a chilling attempt to make them appear more like criminals. The punishments weren't always fatal, though. Some animals were sentenced to exile, and in rare cases, they were even pardoned. Not all animals were doomed in these trials. One of the most bizarre cases happened in 1750, when a female donkey was accused of immoral behavior. But instead of punishment, she was acquitted, because multiple witnesses testified that she was well-behaved and had never caused any trouble. Meanwhile, the human involved in the case wasn't so lucky. He was sentenced to death. This case proves that while the system was strange, it sometimes worked in favor of the animals. It wasn't just mammals that found themselves in trouble. Birds, too, were put on trial. In 1474, a rooster in Basel, Switzerland, was sentenced to death for laying an egg. People feared the egg might hatch into a cockatrice, a mythical creature believed to be a deadly mix of a rooster and a serpent. Instead of dismissing it as a freak occurrence, the court ruled that the rooster was guilty of witchcraft and had it burned at the stake. This case highlights how medieval society often blended superstition with law, leading to some of the most absurd trials in history. Believe it or not, even tiny creatures like rats and insects had their day in court. When rats infested a village, officials sometimes issued formal eviction notices, warning them to leave or face punishment. Of course, the rats never responded, but instead of dismissing the case, some courts actually appointed lawyers to defend them. In one instance, a lawyer argued that the rats couldn't appear in court because the journey would be too dangerous due to the presence of cats. This ridiculous defense worked, and the case was dismissed. One of the strangest animal trials happened in 1596 in Marseille, France, when a dolphin was accused of harming a human. Unlike the cases of pigs or roosters where superstition played a role, this one seemed completely absurd even by medieval standards. There's no record of what happened to the dolphin, but the fact that it was put on trial at all shows just how far people went to enforce justice, even against creatures that had no idea they were being judged. These trials may sound ridiculous today, but they were taken seriously in the past. They showed just how much fear, superstition, and misunderstanding shaped medieval law. Thankfully, we no longer blame animals for crimes, but these cases remain a bizarre reminder of how different justice used to be.